Hey guys, week 2 video here. So just a couple of reminders for what you're expected to do. First of all, you're going to watch the video. So W. Your S or summary today is going to be just copying down the example that I give you and then showing me tomorrow that you have it in your notebooks, and there's a couple for you to try at the end. And lastly, our Q or questions is just going to be anything that you still don't understand. We have a test Friday, so none of this information is new to you. It's just extending and practicing the stuff that you already know, okay? All right, so here is a problem for you. Let me adjust slightly without being on there. That's going to take some editing here. Okay. A square plate has an area of 127 inches squared. The spot in the cabinet where the plates will be stored measures 11 inches wide. Mark claims there's enough room for the plates. Mary replies there is not enough room for the plates to fit. Who is correct? How do you know? So let's work through this problem together. A lot of times we see word problems and we get very freaked out very easily because there's just so much information. So let's break it into two pieces. We know that the plate is a square, so that's going to be our first piece of information. And we also know that there's a cabinet where these plates will be stored, and those are 11 inches wide. So let's work with that information first, and then we'll come back to Mark and Mary and what they believe after that. All right. Let's draw a plate. Remember, one of our strategies for solving these problems when there's a lot of words is to draw a picture. So we have a plate. The area is 127 square inches. And we also have a cabinet, and the space in the cabinet where the plate's going to possibly or not possibly fit is 11 inches wide. So think to yourself right now, what would be the first thing I need to do to see if this plate fits? I obviously know that 127 is much larger than 11. But for one of these, we're talking about the area, so all of the space that it fills up. And for this other one, we're talking about one dimension. And in class, we talked about dimension being a measurement, so in one direction of an item. Yes, I said one direction. Sorry, I cracked myself up. Anyways, when I'm talking about area, I'm talking about a side times a side. So basically x times itself, because it is a square plate, that's another thing we need to remember, has to be 127 square inches. Another way we could write that is x squared, because any number times itself is the same as squaring it. It's 127 inches squared. And that's great, but I want to know what that side length is. So we also talked about opposite operations or inverses. We know that the inverse of subtraction is addition, inverse of multiplication is division, so on and so forth. See if you remember what the inverse of squaring a number is. Get it? Square root. So if I square root this number, which is something we've been working with, that should be read, like our last video, as what number times itself gives me 127. This isn't an exact amount. We know that the square root of 121 is 11. And then the next one larger from that in our charts that we have, square root of 144 is 12. So the square root of 127 has to be somewhere in between 11 and 12. Last week we decided which one it would be closer to, so we know how to do that. 127 is closer to 121 than it is to 144. So it's a little bit bigger than 11. Based off this information now, I know that the sides of my plates are about 11 and some change, a decimal number after it. So if each of my plates is 11 inches on a side, plus a little bit more, can it fit directly into a cabinet that only has 11 inches of space? What do you think? So if I go back to the argument that was given, Mark thinks that there is enough room for the plate. Mary says that there's not enough room. Who's correct? When you come back in tomorrow, have an answer to that. Decide based on the math we just did who is correct and who is not. Okay, your turn. Celia has a square rug with an area of 89 square feet. Will she be able to fit the rug in a room that is 10 feet by 13 feet? Explain your answer. So for this problem, this is something you're going to do. You can pause the video right now, try it out, follow the same strategy of what we already did. Make sure you have an explanation for your answer. It's not good enough to just say yes or no. It's not good enough just to have a number answer. You need to explain why you think the way you think about it. So take a minute, pause the video, go ahead and work on that. This bonus question is taking the same idea, but thinking outside the box. Notice my capital T-H-I-N-K, think. Be very careful with this problem as you solve it. I didn't tell you a particular shape, so when you discuss your why or why not for this, really take into any consideration. We know that there's a garden that has an area of 600 square feet, and we know that a yard has a side length of 10 feet. Think about it. Think about all your options. Will the garden fit into the yard? Why or why not? Be ready to talk about that with your group tomorrow when you come in too. All right, thanks guys.